Hello, and thank you for stopping by the Stuff I Heard podcast. This is your host, Joshua Peak. Today is Christmas Day, 2018. Wow, Christmas. Merry Christmas to everybody out there listening. As Christmas rolls around this year, I was excited about Christmas, but also something I didn't expect came up on my timeline. Apparently, this is the 50th anniversary of something huge in NASA. 50 years ago, the Apollo 8 had the Christmas at the Moon celebration. So here's what happened. In 1968, there was a race to get to the moon by John F. Kennedy, and they were in a hurry to see if they could actually get somebody to the moon. Now, there was quite an event with three astronauts. Frank Borman, Jim Lovell, and Bill Anders became the first humans to orbit another world. Well, that's kind of an exaggeration, but it's sort of not. They actually orbited the moon. They took off, apparently, on the... I'm reading it on here on their NASA website, but I had it all lined up and now I can't find it. They took off and apparently got there on Christmas Eve, and they orbited 10 times before returning on the 27th in the Pacific Ocean. It was the first time it had ever been done. It's the first time that humans had actually reached the moon. We had apparently sent satellites there, and we had tried to get there several other times with no success. And they made it. And there was a famous image called the Earthrise picture, which shows the moon at the bottom and the Earth rising in the distance, kind of like we see the sun rising in the distance here on Earth. This was the first picture of the Earth rising, and it's incredible. Actually, no. I'm reading here as I'm saying this. I'm reading here. It says. The first ever Earthrise photo was taken by NASA's lunar orbiter in 1966. So that's not even correct. Why is that even important? Why is that? I guess it's because they orbited. They physically orbited the moon. So I misspoke. Okay. Oh well. They orbited the moon 10 times. They didn't have the apparent rocket they needed in order to land on the moon that would later be sent up in 1969. But they did it. And apparently on their way back home, Lovell radioed NASA and said, "Roger, please inform there is a Santa Claus." I guess they were saying that because they were coming back around Christmas time that they could see Santa Claus. It's kind of cute. But yeah, lunar landing was still months away, but for the first time ever, humans from the Earth had visited the moon and returned home safely. Pretty cool. If you don't understand, kind of the importance of that, go check out some stuff on the History Channel or on NASA. I say channel. They have a website on history.com or nasa.gov or anything on YouTube, and just look it up. And there's some stunning photo and videos on there that's really cool. I'm just a dude talking on a microphone telling you about what I've read. So take it for what it's worth. But anyway, for Christmas this year, it's just me and the wife. We're kind of enjoying our time together. If you're watching the YouTube video, you can see my Mickey Mouse shirt. He's wearing a little Santa hat because, Disney and Mickey, right? They go together. I've spent this past week I spent this past month researching soundboards and trying to get some better audio equipment for the podcast here. My hope and goal was that I could eventually have 2 microphones running and possibly have the ability to have someone call in on the phone and broadcast them through the channels so that you guys could hear it. I have tried in the past to have phone interviews, especially one with my buddy Greg, where basically you've seen the video probably. I'm holding the phone up to the microphone and there's a weird sound echo and it's sort of tin canny and it doesn't really sound great, and it works, but it's sort of the poor man's fix. And when you listen back to it, the sound quality is not great. There's something coming from the phone through the microphone that makes it hard to listen to. And, you know, I want to step up my game. I want to go that next level. I want to be able to do the thing that I can do to help you guys enjoy the quality of it a little better. I've talked to different people that live in different places, and they've said, hey, I want to be on the podcast. I want to figure out how to stream in. I'm like, great, let's figure that out. Well, if you go on YouTube and try and find that out, there's a lot of videos of people having their own setups, but it's mostly for people doing like DJ work, or for professional audio engineers who like they skip over steps and they don't explain everything. And I'm going to do a comprehensive video once I have it up and running. I did make a video today kind of showing you where I'm at right now, and I'll post that on the YouTube page. Just look up my name, Joshua Peak. It'll be there. I'll show you where I'm at right now, and it is no way a finished product, but you know, I just kind of want to show what I'm doing so far. My poor wife has had to put up with me kind of taking over her desk area here, and I even built a desk shelf thing to go on the side to hold the soundboard. That way it's sort of out of the way, it's not on the desktop, and when we're not using the podcast stuff, we can put it all the way over there and sort of adapt and, you know, cohesively work together. That's a big word to use on Christmas. Cohesively. I can't even spell cohesively. Anyway. But yeah, there's that. So I hope you guys are appreciating the hard work and the diligence that I'm putting forth to make this happen. And I hope that some of you, you know, want to be a part of this in the future, so that if we do a project together, you'll be like, oh, yeah, I'm on the thing. I'm on the thing. I saw you do, man. Cool. You know, I'm assuming you'll be that way, but of course that's my expectations. And expectations never really become reality. But anywho, and talk a little bit about grilling. I am grilling two pork butts. We're getting ready to go to my wife's family's house for a little Christmas get together, and you know, part of the discussion was, will we have enough food? And I've had some success cooking a brisket and cooking a couple of butts and a standing prime rib. And it's turned into sort of an artisan thing that I wanted to do. Now, when I got to the point where I wanted to purchase this grill, I had this in mind. I had this project in mind. I had the idea of, I want to get good enough to where it's requested. I want to get good enough to where when we go somewhere to like hang out with people and stuff, they go, oh, would you please make this thing? Sure. Now, of course, part of that is you have to learn how to do it. And I've got plenty of videos on YouTube of me trying to learn how to do it. And some of them were successful and some of them weren't. And thankfully my wife kind of put up with me dealing with the parts that weren't to deal with the parts where it was a success. I would say that the briskets now have turned into a success, and so has the Boston butts and the shoulders. To the point now where we really are, you know, starting to make some meat and bring it with us to places, and that's great. So far the brisket has turned out to be the best thing that I've cooked on it. For those who don't know, I have a Gorilla Grills Silverback pellet smoker, which is a lot like a Traeger. If you look online at Traegers, Traeger, they're built the same way. They have an electronic plug-in that sets an auger on the inside, and the auger burns this little fire pot where wood pellets are fed into it, and it times it out to where it has the temperature controlled at a certain temperature. And of course it smokes the meat as it goes, because the wood pellets are these hard little, you know, wooden pellets that are flavored. I am buying the competition blend that comes from Traeger because I can get it through Amazon cheaper than I can get it in town. And here in my little town, even though our town is growing and blossoming, it's hard to find the wood pellets. And I really don't have the time to go from store to store to store and constantly find that somebody sold out of them, or they don't keep enough on the shelf, or they don't keep any on the shelf. So rather than deal with that, I just order them through Amazon. I got Amazon Prime and get that free shipping. And, you know, they come in the mail and I'm ready to go. I have learned that it's good to get them 2 at a time. They're 20-pound bags each, and you know, if you just get one bag, you go through it too quickly. I can cook on natural gas, or not natural gas, but propane a lot cheaper. But the taste is different. The cooking style is different. The whole thing is different. This is sort of a step up, and it's turned into the #1 way we cook food. I say we loosely. I've been out there grilling almost every day, and today's no different. You know, I'm going to cook these 2 butts. It'll probably take a good 9 to 10 hours, and once it's done, I will clean it up because, you know, it does create some extra ash around the ash pot. I'll let it cool down. I'll pull everything apart. I'll get a vacuum out there, clean out the ash pot, and get ready to cook ribeyes tonight. Because why not? It's Christmas, and it's just me and my wife, and we can have ribeyes if we want to. It's our party, and we'll cry if we want to. Or something like that. So yeah, I normally get together with my sister on Christmas time area to, you know, hang out with her and her family. She has a new job and some new requirements, so they weren't exactly available to do it on a time when we were available. So we missed out on that this year, and I hate that, but I love her, and if she's listening, I'll see you soon. But yeah, you know, I can hear in the distance here somebody got a new gun because they're out there shooting it. Hopefully they're shooting it at targets and not just randomly out in the air. But yeah. What's going on? What am I watching? I talked about watching Sherlock Holmes on Netflix, and I finished the last season. Well, the last season that I know of. I don't know if they finished it. You know, the British shows I've heard all line up to where they only record like a few years of it, and that's it. And this may be the same way. If you haven't watched it, you can watch it on Netflix. It was originally on BBC. There's 4 seasons on there. The first 2 seasons are 3 episodes at an hour and a half long apiece, so they're like miniature movies. The 3rd season is like 6 episodes, and then there's like a behind the scenes thing that's actually pretty cool to watch. And then they do the 4th season, and the 4th season is 3 episodes. And, you know, the main character being Sherlock Holmes, you think of him as the main character because it's named Sherlock Holmes, but Dr. Watson, the guy who plays him, is phenomenal, and you know, the show is phenomenal, and the cast is great, the writing is great. It has a lot of twists and turns, and they show you like behind the scenes, you know, little ways of depicting what he's breaking down as he looks at stuff. Little words appear on things as he's looking at details. So as a viewer, it's sort of like getting to know what the internal dialogue is as you move through the scenes. But, you know, I've said it before that the villain kind of makes the show, and the villains in this show are perfect. They're intense, they're powerful, they're captivating, and humanistic in a way. That was one of the things about Daredevil. You know, when Daredevil was on Netflix, it's still available right now. They haven't pulled it yet. You know, there is that whole transition to the Disney Plus, whatever that's going to be, their streaming service. Vincent D'Onofrio played Kingpin, the head bad guy on Daredevil, and he did such a great job that he sort of made the show what it is, because he's so dangerous and yet humanistic, and you care for him in a way because they show you his background story and they show you his struggles and how he's wanting to do what he thinks is right. And you sort of need that in a character development in a story, especially when you're going to drag it out through a series that's going to be, you know, 6 to 10 episodes per year. You need to care about all of the characters, even the bad guys. And if the bad guy is not strong enough, or, you know, not captivating enough, or if you don't connect with them in some way, then you lose track of the show. And to me, that's kind of the fate of the Iron Fist. The Iron Fist never really had a bad guy that you were like, oh no, here it comes. Nor did you have a good guy that was, in my opinion, strong enough to go, oh, he's going to get it now, look at him, he's coming back. They just never did that. To me, the Iron Fist was the weakest of the series. In contrast, the Punisher, the guy playing Frank Castle, is so intense and so, I don't know what the right phrasing is. He just captures you on the screen that you can't turn away. no matter what he's facing, they don't necessarily need a strong enough bad guy to be in the other opposing force. It's basically him against everybody. And he does a good enough job of controlling your interest on the screen so that you root for him. And he has no real superpowers. He's not a superpower guy. He just is hard to kill. and if he's still alive, he's going to make sure that the people who deserve to be punished get punished. So it is not a G-rated series. It is an R-rated series on there. And I really hope that this transition from Netflix to Disney Plus with Marvel, I hope that they keep him R-rated. I hope that they keep that going the same way, because otherwise you're going to lose the impact of what the Punisher is and the story that he is, and it's just not going to translate well. But we are in a transitionary time. There is a lot of things happening right now in the Marvel Universe, especially with Stan Lee dying and with Disney buying Marvel. There's a lot of transitions that are going to happen. One of those question marks is, something like Daredevil. Will Ryan Reynolds keep playing Daredevil as an R-rated character, or will they nerf him down? Apparently there's some kind of movie coming out around Christmas time. It's supposed to be some goofy story PG-13 version of Daredevil, but they've done it like Princess Bride style, where he's reading a story to Fred Savage just like in the movie, and they like take out parts, and I don't know. I haven't seen it. I haven't even heard if anybody's seen it and talked about it, but it's apparently either coming out or it's already out, but I don't know. It just worries me that that franchise is going to get kind of dumbed down to a, I don't know, rounded corner edge version of what's supposed to be dangerous and off the cuff. And one of the biggest things about Daredevil was that he broke the fourth wall all the time and talked to the audience. He realized he was a comic book character and that he couldn't be hurt because he's the star of the show. And that was the one thing that he did that other comic book characters did not do. So, my Christmas wish is that Disney just leave some things headed in the same direction they were going, but also that they don't screw it up in the meanwhile. Of course, that's the same thing with Star Wars. I mean, a lot of people said that Disney screwed up Star Wars when they purchased them. There's a lot of people that hated the movie Han Solo, the Solo movie or whatever. I just call it the Han Solo thing. It's coming out on Netflix in January, and I will watch it more than once. And I will probably make my wife watch it at least once. I think they did a good job. I went to the movies to see it, and I enjoyed it. And I didn't really know all of the storylines that went into the Solo movie. I just knew what I knew from friends who read the books in high school. They were telling me about it, and from the movies that I had seen at the time. And when you hear the people talk about their history on screen, they always refer to things in the past that connects them. This movie sort of connects all those storylines together. There is some YouTube videos where people link up, different novel books where people talk about their history with Lando Calrissian and with Chewbacca and with, Han Solo and the supposed, big gap that he flew in a record time that no one can believe that it flew. It shows that. It shows why the Millennium Falcon is so important in the story and what makes it different than all the other starships in the story. There's a lot that goes into that movie, and it leads you on to the next step of the movie. It leads you on to the next story where Han Solo is in it. Now, I know a lot of people at the time were pissed off that they didn't figure out how to make a 70-plus-year-old Harrison Ford look like he was in his 20s. But come on, there's some limitations to CGI that's just ridiculous. I like the fact that they adapted a young guy who looks somewhat like Harrison Ford and has his type of attitude and swagger. He did a good job. He did a good job. I think the movie did a good job. I don't think it made the money that they were hoping. I don't think it raised the kind of positive feedback that they were hoping for. But neither did Empire Strikes Back. The Empire Strikes Back was seen as a huge flop, and yet it later became a cult hit because people went back and watched it over and over again, and they were like, this is really good. This is, And I think this is going to be the same way. I think people are going to go back and they're going to watch the Solo movie and they're going to be like, wow, I didn't even pick that part up the first time I saw it. Oh, I see why they did that, because that leads into this. And yeah. There's a reason for everything. Sometimes those reasons are calculated. Sometimes they're happy accidents. But yeah. So, for Christmas this year, I hope everybody is doing well for Christmas. Don't forget the reason for the season. We celebrate the birth of Christ. And, you know, this is the Stuff I Heard podcast, so let's just talk about that. Okay? I've heard it discussed that Jesus wasn't actually born on December 25th, that the holiday was moved to this time of the year to celebrate in conjunction with the winter equinox. There was already a holiday celebrating the winter equinox, and it was seen as a new beginning and all this other stuff. Apparently Jesus was actually born around March something, and they were like, no, let's just align it with this. We can celebrate it together. It'll be a new birth. It'll be the, you know, all this was decided, and they went along with it. And we just, you know, we celebrate it. We talk about it. You know, they depict the manger as like a barn type structure for sheep, where in reality we figure out later that it was more like a cave. And, you know, there's a version of stories that you hear where you go, okay, you know, this is what we're going to go with. And then as time changes, you know, start to collaborate information and you realize that maybe the information you got wasn't exactly real. And it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. We celebrate the birth of Jesus. Merry Christmas. We celebrate Santa Claus because, hey, Coca-Cola invented Santa Claus. They needed a character that depicted a guy who was, you know, going to be friendly and happy and jolly and give kids lots of joy. And, oh, here's a Coca-Cola. But there was a guy named St. Nick. And St. Nick made toys for kids over in, was it Germany? And, you know, things morph. Stories change. Sometimes you just go along with things because it's fun. So, ho, ho, ho. Merry Christmas. I love you. Celebrate the birth of Christ and all that fun stuff. And don't forget to call up your relatives that you ain't talked to in a while and tell them you love them. It's just nice. You know what I mean? So, if I haven't talked to you in a while, Merry Christmas and I love you. And I hope you're doing well. I'm going to wrap this up. Y'all go be with loved ones and all that fun stuff. Merry Christmas!